Hey, thanks for joining in, everybody. Tonight's class is on self-compassion. We've been doing classes on love for a little while. Don't worry if you haven't followed those. It's not a problem. It does help, but it's not a problem. So it's the 26th of April, 2022. I'm doing this guided meditation from my engineering office, and the angle of the camera is slightly different. I must have moved my screen while I've been working, so rather than seeing a bit more of that side, I can see that there's a bit more of that side on show. And if you can see there, that's my part of an extension piece for my hand auger, and I sort of noticed it in the corner, and I was thinking about this class, and I thought, well, it actually ties in, because I've got a prop for tonight. Here's my hand auger. So what you do is there's a reason me showing you this. I'll get onto it. Here's the handle. So you turn that round, spin it round in the ground. This piece spins around that way and collects a piece of ground in there. And then you pull this up, and it all comes up and out, and then that comes to the surface, a piece of earth, and then that can be noted and assessed for the foundations that I design. So around here, it's usually sand or gravel or clay. You do get some peat, topsoil. And the analogy is very similar to us doing healing practice, settling our mind down, calming it down. Because what we have inside is, like, you get lumps of rock and hard ground and things. In our mind, we have, very crudely, we have lumps of suppressed trauma. From that comes anxiety and stress and worry. And they sit in the background. And when they come out, when we, like we do with a hand auger, when we get these little pockets of trauma out, then there's less anxiety and stress. So we're de-stressing, we're reducing anxiety by taking out the trauma that has previously been suppressed, repressed. So there's lots of opportunity for us to go down and excavate within ourselves the trauma, to look for it. It's not what human beings normally do. Normally, the last thing we do is look for our trauma. We distract ourselves from anxiety and stress and the trauma deep within. We distract ourselves in a million different ways. And if we check, we are generally distracting ourselves. I don't think it really matters too much what we're distracting ourselves with, unless it's harming us badly, because we're all doing it. We're all distracting ourselves. There's either being in the moment, this cliched phrase, there's either being in the moment and accepting the moment, or there's avoidance practice. We're practicing, if you like, all the time. We're practicing avoidance. So we can do the opposite, and it's rare to do it. Now, we can go for therapy, and there are all sorts of therapies now that include somatic therapy, bodily therapy, acupuncture, yoga, shaking exercises, rapid eye movement exercises, because people have started to recognize that and gain insight into the fact that trauma lives in the body. It gets pockets of it get put places. It sounds weird, but it occurs. If any of you have experienced this, you can experience some release, either in therapy, physical or emotional, psychological, and you might get a release of some tension somewhere. It can happen in yoga, it can happen in meditation. So we can auger down into our own physical, emotional, mental earth, if you like, planet, and pull these things out and release them. If we do that in a way that is really quite barbaric, really intense, we're not going to want to do it again. We might feel better, think, oh, I might go back there one day, but it might be intense. It might be very expensive. If we do it through a presence within ourselves of love, stillness, patience, compassion, then it's not something that's heavy. It's not something that, well, it might be heavy, but there's a paradox here. It can be heavy and light at the same time within us. If we hold heaviness with compassion, it's heavy and light. The compassion holds it lightly, just like we can hold a crying baby very lightly and gently. There's the crying and there's the holding gently. Our mind isn't one thing. That's why there can be what seems to be paradoxes, because the mind isn't one thing. So we can look inside, look at our trauma, look at our stress and our anxieties and our previous pain. And with gentleness, they can be released and we can have less and less anxiety and stress. So this is mixing Western and Eastern kind of practices. Now this hand auger I've got's got extensions just here. So some things are near surface, some things need to be gotten out deeper down. And that's the nature of practice too. Sometimes we need to look a little bit deeper. Once we get some mindfulness through meditation, some concentration, we can explore our mind a little bit and think, hold on a minute, I wonder if there's something below that, and we can allow our mind to relax and thoughts will come up, and the thoughts might be from something else. And we think, that fear is from that situation, because that's the thoughts that are coming through that fear. Or maybe we can just relax and let our mind go into the past while we've got some anxiety. And we can think, this is what's coming to mind, this image of when I was 23. So then we go into that and we can bring our compassion to that place. I do it a lot. I find it a wonderful practice. We don't really need to go searching for it because we're a pressure vessel. That's what we are. We're a pressure vessel of suppressed and repressed trauma. We have to be, because we're constantly distracting ourselves if we check. Wouldn't be doing it otherwise. And because we suppress and repress trauma, and maybe we've got lots of it from pre-birth, some of it actually the birth experience must be traumatic for babies. They don't understand what's going on. And post-birth, before we have long-term memory, then we don't know how much trauma we've got inside of us. And it's no surprise that we'll distract ourselves and have all these things. And as we get older, they want to come out. The mind, the body wants to self-clean. It wants to do that. It's like what we've got inside of us. They're not really like heavy blocks, in like my analogy. They're not like big pebbles. They're more like balloons in the water. They want to come up. It's like we've put a tarpaulin over the swimming pool, and these bubbles are trying to come up. So this is why when we sit in meditation quietly, if somebody goes on a retreat for days and days, their stuff starts to come up, because all that's happened is the resistance has moved out of the way, the distraction's gone out of the way, and they come up. So we don't need to go searching hard. Our mind wants to show us itself. It wants to show us our suffering. It wants to be in a space of love and compassion. And as meditators, that's what we can do. So that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to generate some love, some compassion, and then gently allow our mind to express itself. That's wisdom. Our mind expressing itself as to what needs to be looked at and accepted and loved next. I'm not suggesting we can't go straight to, we can't use therapies, talk therapies or any other therapies. But meditation on its own doesn't cut it. It doesn't teach us how to address these and process these traumas. Okay, so if you'd like to get into a relaxed position, comfortable position. And that's what I was going to say, is that because we're all trauma beings, our inability to cope sometimes is completely rational, completely reasonable. It'd be weird if we coped all the time. It'd be weird if we didn't get stress and anxiety because of the trauma pre-birth, birth, post-birth, longer term. Totally reasonable, totally to be expected to have these feelings of overwhelmed anxiety and stress and worries and even darker thoughts. So the great news is that trauma wants to come out. It wants to come out. Our natural state is compassion. Picture the room that you're sat in. Become aware of this body. Become aware of your thoughts. Just because the thoughts arise doesn't mean they're owned. I say your thoughts, but they're not anyone's thoughts. You can witness a tree in a field that no human's ever been to, in a forest, and it's not owned. Thoughts don't have an owner in reality. Thoughts come and go. There's no comprehension at all of where the thought comes from. So how can we say it's ours? We've no idea where these thoughts go to. So how can we say they're ours? They have our accent, weirdly, don't know why, but they have our own voice. They come and they go. Watch your thoughts. Practice not experiencing them as owned, but just appearances. And breathe. And now bring your awareness to your feelings. Somewhere down the middle of the body, throat, chest, stomach, navel. Love whatever you find. Love whatever you find. Allow it to be here. This takes practice. But our feelings are not enemies. They're not interested. They have no agenda other than to function as they are. Fake it till we make it in meditation. Bring as much love as you can to these feelings. Imagine you have a vast amount of love focusing on these feelings that are arising, no matter what they are. This tenderness that we can bring to our own experience is not naturally what the mind does. It panics and looks for pleasure. It does the opposite of what it needs to do, which is to come right into the feeling and love it, not run away from it. This is emotional composure practice. It's the only thing that stops us running away. Okay, so we've met with our body and our thoughts and our feelings in a special way, at least we've tried to. Now we're going to relax the body some more. Bring your awareness to your face. That tension in your jaw is because of anxieties and worries and fears. Let it relax. Let the anxieties and worries and fears in the jaw melt away. Let the muscles loosen. Because we're accepting whatever arises in this meditation, there's no basis for us to have any fear. We're going to meet whatever comes up. So breathe deeply. Let your body and your mind come off high alert, protective alertness. We are a coiled spring of protective alertness, watching, worrying, making stories up about the future, even ones about the past. In this moment, there's nothing at all to fear. Nothing. Now imagine the space between your eyebrows widens. Your third eye. And the muscles around the eyes relax. Now we bring our awareness to our left shoulder. With compassion and care, we check down the arm for any tension we might have built up during the day, and we let it relax off. This is self-compassion. This is wishing for our arm to suffer less. The same with the hand and the fingers. Let them relax too. Bringing the awareness now to the right shoulder. Checking down, being kind to ourselves, checking the right arm, upper arm, lower arm, hands and fingers, letting them just be. Nothing for them to be busy with. Bringing the awareness now to the left hip. We notice just by setting the intention to do this, our mind moves to the hip, and then scan down and do the same exercise, relaxing off, being kind. And now the right hip, the same thing, all the way down the leg, the feet and toes. And one last check around the body for any tightness you might still be holding on to. There you go. Keeping the mind alert so we can relax the body deeply and yet keep the mind clear and alert. Bringing the awareness now to the shoulders and the neck. There's nothing to worry about right now in this moment, nothing. We're just here, we're breathing. Let your shoulders and neck relax. Nothing to do, nothing to change or improve. Nothing to correct. Nothing to plan. No guilt or shame in this moment. Everything is accepted in this space. Now to relax our abdomen, visualize black smoke swirling around inside your body cavity. And bound up in it is indifference to our own, to your plight, your struggles, your strifes, your problems, things that have happened to you, pre-memory, post-memory. We distract from them and we become a bit indifferent to our own suffering. Imagine this indifference is bound up in the black smoke. And with 3 nice, steady, deep out breaths, visualize the black smoke going into the distance and taking with it this indifference, this feeling that our own suffering is not important. Everyone's suffering is important. It's not selfish. It's actually very healthy and considerate. Now imagine that all your indifference to yourself has gone, and that your trauma is vitally important. Your trauma is important to you. Your trauma is important to me. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing this. It's vitally important. And when it feels right, just allow your mind to move to your breath. Notice the breath coming in. Imagine sparkling golden lights come in with the breath. This delightfully light compassion that holds things gently, lets them be. Imagine as you breathe in, it's the finest breath coming in, mixed with golden, sparkling light. Imagine it swirls around your body, making it feel lighter, nurtured and cared for. And it deeply cares for your past as much as it does your present and your future. Imagine this fine breath coming in. Imagine it's pure care. It cares. Wherever it goes, it heals. Imagine as you breathe in, it comes into your heart. Deep caring comes into your heart. Let it in. And then let more in. Allow this deep caring to come into your heart more and more. If there's resistance, just note it. Okay, now from this caring, I'd like you to allow your mind to just go into the past. Allow the past to come up, I should say. Just allow something from the past to come up that is going to get held with this caring in your heart. A past you, a past time, a past event, a past moment. Something that was traumatic, upsetting, hurtful, confusing. Allow this past you to be here in your heart and the event. Just allow it to be surrounded I care. The wish to heal. The deep wish to heal. Merely presence alone heals trauma. Just presence. Allow this you, this past you, to be in your heart. Consider their experience, the past you traumatic experience, and just allow them to be settled and themselves and held in your care, in your heart. Nothing can hurt them here. They can start to relax a little. If you want to, you can talk to them, tell them that you love them, that you're here for them. Or you can perhaps stay with them or imagine that they're getting a hug, tenderness from you, or they've got your ear to listen. For the next couple of minutes, just allow this natural relationship with the past you to get what it needs. What does the past you need? If you want to invite this past you for a hug, imagine hugging them or listening or sitting with, understanding in this safe space within your heart. It's up to you. Nobody understands them like you do. Their pain is your pain. Nobody understands the fears, the anxieties, the worries, the pain, the shock, the trauma like you do. No one ever will. Hold it inside of yourself with presence, compassion. This is holding heaviness and lightness. Nothing can damage the space of your mind, just like an arrow can't damage the sky when it's fired into it. Our mind can hold things. When it has compassion and love in it, it can hold things. So for the last 30 seconds, just allow whatever needs to happen with the past you to happen, what you need to hear finally, or a final hug, or cuddle, or knowing, or just sitting with. And let them know that you're here for them. And then say goodbye in whatever way feels appropriate. And for them too. And then just imagine they melt into your heart, the safety of your heart. And we can dedicate the peace, the concentration, the mindfulness, the love, the compassion, the kindness, the tenderness, the wisdom, the insight to our own future welfare, the welfare of others. May everyone's trauma heal. May everyone find emotional contentment. May one recognize that they are stillness, manifesting in appearances. And when it feels comfortable, just gently allow your eyes to open. Remain self-compassionate as you open your eyes. Allow this to be here as long as it wants to be. Okay, so hope you enjoyed that, even if it was difficult. And thank you for joining in. If you'd like to listen to more of my guided meditations, then you can find them on YouTube on Paul Follows Meditations. If you want a reminder for these classes, Tuesday evening or Thursday live at the Old School Room in Perford, then you can join via the front page of my website, paulfollows.com. Okay, thank you for joining in.